Welcome to this explainer. We're going to dive straight into a fascinating historical blueprint today. We're looking at exactly how two college dropouts completely dismantled a multi-million-dollar computing monopoly, all from a suburban garage back in 1976. This isn't just some neat piece of startup history. It is literally the exact architectural template for the modern digital world we are all living in right now.
So, how exactly did they pull that off? Well, the secret really lies in this fierce culture clash happening down in the Santa Clara Valley in '76. It was essentially an all-out war between these rigid, established industrial giants and a radical underground culture that firmly believed technology belonged in the hands of the individual.
Section 1. The institutional monopoly.
To really get this, we have to remember that at the time, computing power was totally centralized and sedentary. We are talking about massive, multi-million-dollar monolithic blocks owned exclusively by the military, universities, and Fortune 500 companies. Computing was fiercely guarded by this sort of corporate high priesthood. Seriously, the idea that an everyday citizen could just own a personal computer, it was viewed by the establishment as an absolute joke. No way that was happening.
Section 2. The hacker commons. But out of all that stifling corporate rigidity, a fierce countercultural resistance started to emerge. On one side, you had the traditional industrial silo, right? Rigid, hierarchical, fiercely protective of their mainframe monopolies. But on the other side, you had the homebrew hacker commons. This was an open-source, totally rebellious collective of hobbyists deeply dedicated to democratizing computing. And honestly, the entire consumer tech revolution was built on their blue-collar grit.
The real catalyst, though, came in 1975 with the Altair 8800, which was this primitive microcomputer kit. When a 25-year-old Steve Wozniak took a look at it, he just saw this cryptic, blind metal box. It didn't have a video screen, it didn't have a keyboard, and get this, you actually had to program it by painstakingly flipping mechanical toggle switches. Wozniak took one look and immediately realized it was completely alienated from natural human interaction.
Section 3. Architecting the Apple I.
So Wozniak goes back and executes this radical conceptual leap to actually make computing affordable, because industry-standard microprocessors back then, they cost up to $300. Wozniak completely bypassed that roadblock by securing a highly unconventional chip, the MOS 6502, for a mere $20 over the counter. Just $20. That staggering price drop is what made the individual consumer model mathematically possible in the first place. And he engineered all of this onto a single, flat circuit board. The elegance of this is amazing. First, he built in a direct interface so you could plug a standard typewriter keyboard straight into it. Second, he fed that input right into that cheap but super powerful $20 microprocessor. And finally, instead of using complex, wildly expensive video hardware, he just used inexpensive components to push a steady video signal directly to a standard home TV set.
Which leads us to this incredibly historic fracture point. When Wozniak hooked all this up in his bedroom, he typed a single key on the keyboard. And that exact character instantly materialized on his TV screen. For the very first time, the machine was responding to human intent in real time. He literally transformed the computer from a cold, distant calculator into an organic, interactive tool, a real game changer.
Section 4. The garage assembly line. Now, while Wozniak was busy chasing the thrill of engineering, a 21-year-old Steve Jobs recognized this single-board system for what it really was, a highly valuable piece of intellectual property. He actually had to convince Wozniak to stop giving his schematics away for free. And to scrape together their initial $1,300 in working capital, Jobs sold his beloved Volkswagen microbus, and Wozniak sold his prized HP 65 calculator. Talk about putting it all on the line. With that cash, they officially launched the Apple Computer Company. Jobs immediately takes these bare boards and pitches them to the Byte Shop in Mountain View. But the retail manager there, Paul Terrell, countered with this brilliant demand that permanently altered Apple's trajectory. Terrell didn't want hobbyist kits. No, he placed a massive order for 50 fully pre-assembled computers at $500 a unit, and he wanted them in just 30 days. Boom. That single order yanked Apple right out of the hobbyist garage and forced them straight into mass production. Operating with absolute velocity to hit that 30-day deadline, Jobs systematically transformed his parents' suburban ranch house into a round-the-clock manufacturing turbine. Wozniak is sitting in the bedroom laboratory hand-testing chips. The living room? Completely taken over as a packing hub for inventory. And the kitchen counters were literally repurposed into a solder station, complete with chemical wash baths to clear away the excess flux. And all of this hustle led to a highly disruptive and honestly somewhat infamous retail price tag. While it definitely sparked some wild cultural speculation at the time, the truth behind the number is purely mathematical. The wholesale cost to Terrell was fixed at $500. Add a standard 33% corporate markup, factor in Wozniak's known intense affinity for repeating digits, and, well, it calculates out to exactly $666.66.
Section 5. From Apple I to AI. That initial 1976 run generated over $25,000 in revenue, completely igniting the personal computer revolution. And here's why this matters today. Its mathematical lineage extends straight into our modern world. I mean, from the Apple I to the Macintosh in the 80s, the spatial mobile revolution of the iPhone, all the way to Phase 7, AI cognitive systems today. Sure, the tools shifted from 8-bit processors to complex neural networks, but that core philosophy of decentralization, it has absolutely only accelerated. In fact, that 1976 philosophy of localizing power is experiencing its ultimate manifestation right now. Think about it. The Apple I decentralized computing to the individual desk. Today, Edge AI uses massive Apple silicon processors with local neural engines to run artificial intelligence directly on your phone or laptop. It entirely bypasses the need to route your data to some centralized corporate cloud. It's the exact same philosophy of human autonomy, just scaled way, way up. Even the sociology of innovation has totally come full circle. For decades, we saw computing hardware migrate out into these sprawling corporate campuses. But today, the AI revolution has triggered a major urban realignment. Modern founders are planting hacker houses right inside the historic brick neighborhoods of San Francisco. They are intentionally reconstructing that intense, highly collaborative, garage-seated energy from 1976. So the big takeaway for us here is that the single board design of the Apple I is so much more than a vintage artifact. It's an enduring symbol. It proves that institutional tech monopolies can always be bypassed. The ultimate destiny of technology isn't dictated by massive legacy corporations. It's engineered by independent minds who capture science, forge it into a user-friendly tool, and essentially rewrite human existence right from the edge of the frontier. Which leaves us with this incredible thought to carry with you. If a global shift of that massive magnitude could be hand-soldered together on a kitchen counter back in 1976, what entirely new era of human civilization is currently being wired together in someone's living room right now? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this changes how you look at the device sitting right in front of you.